Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions, the podcast where we dive deep into our faith on this incredible journey of balancing a life dedicated to healing, nurturing, and giving back. I'm Johanna, your host, and each time we meet, we'll explore the stories of remarkable individuals who are PAs, doctors, and professionals, and mission-driven changemakers, from the halls of our hospitals to the hearts of our homes, and into the communities we serve. Join us as we uncover the challenges, triumphs, and everything in between through the lens of our shared faith in Christ. Whether you're a healthcare professional, a parent, or someone passionate about making a difference for God's glory, this podcast is for you. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and get ready to be inspired by real-life stories of resilience, compassion, and dedication, all rooted in faith. Hey guys, so this episode is going to be another one with Paul and I, Paul, my husband, because we just celebrated 10 years as a married couple. We're still relatively new and definitely not as experienced as others, and we don't have all the wisdom in the world for sure. It has felt like it's been a jam-packed 10 years though. We've had really good times, great times, and faced some really hard challenges too. But life is like that. It's going to be full of good, bad, and the ugly, right?
Right.
So, we both waited a while before getting married, and focused on our careers, education, and I feel like we kind of got ourselves a little bit stable before we found each other and got married. And in the end, I think everything has a timing though, and there was definitely a timing for us, right, Paul?
Right, yes. It was all God ordained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what is something you've learned in marriage?
I've learned quite a lot. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is communication and the art of listening. This is something that was a challenge to me, and I think I learned gradually throughout the 10 years of our marriage to spend more time on listening and less on talking.
Yeah, you're definitely a good listener, and I always like just, I don't know whether we call it venting or just like talking. As wives, sometimes we just want to talk about everything and just let it all out, right?
Right, and I think one of the big words you told me about early in our marriage was the word internalizing, which, when you verbalizing, you're internalizing. I had no idea what you were talking about, but I think eventually it dawned on me that it's just important to listen and not even respond. It's even if there's no, because we tend, as men, we want to solve things. When we hear a problem, we want to solve it. And but sometimes I learned that you just want to unload what's on your mind, and you want me to acknowledge that I've heard it, but I don't need to rejoined with a solution at that moment.
Yeah, that is so true. It's like, I don't know, it's how do we describe that? Like, as we just want to like talk it out and then just let someone be able to hear us. And I think, in life that's so important, is just having someone hear you and be able to hear others. That's like a great life lesson in and of itself too, is that people want to be heard, right? People want to be heard in what they are going through, their challenges, their victories, right?
Right.
And their voices to be heard. I think like sometimes we also hear a lot about like situations where people aren't able to be heard. Their cries for help aren't heard, we work with the Ephraim Foundation International, and it kind of brings to mind just like stories that we've heard from people that who need help, and whether kids needing help to go to school, or this one lady and her son. I know this is digressing from the topic of marriage, but I think like it's such an important thing to talk about, is like being able to hear the cries of others and the help and the needs of others when they need help. And this mom and her son that we heard about, a lot of difficulties. The son is very smart. He had a desire to study, but the mom just didn't have the income or capabilities to sustain them. And she was working to help this older lady like clean the house, help her as she was bedridden. But once that lady passed away, she didn't have a job. She didn't have any income anymore. And they were like homeless almost. So we heard about them, and she was living in a building where they didn't even have a toilet. And they would have to go, the son would have to go to school in order to use the restroom, wash his face, brush his teeth. It was, and she actually almost ended up septic because she was not able to use the facilities, and she was just getting sick, and it was really bad. But we have been able to help them somewhat through the Ephraim Foundation. But what I love is the community that we work with in Sri Lanka. They heard about her situation. They helped her, provided food, and the son, he didn't have clothes to go to school. He just had one outfit, and he would wash and wear that one outfit every single day. And the community we help and work with, they heard about that, and they bought new clothes for him, school uniforms, things like that, so that he would be able to have more than one outfit to go to school. That's listening to the cries of help. That's hearing and doing. And when it comes to marriage, as we were talking about, like, we have been learning a lot about listening to each other. Even when you were going through cancer and all those difficulties, I had to listen because I also wanted to help you. I wanted to be like, what can I do to help you? But you also just needed someone to listen to how you were feeling and what you were going through. And in some ways,
Yeah, those times when you're having a real emotional low, and it was very helpful that I had a lovely wife who would listen to what I was going through and the negativity that I was feeling at that time, and then she would encourage me. So yeah, it's very important that, and especially for men who tend not to share their feelings so openly, at least with your spouse, you should be able to internalize, to use your words, what you're feeling, and speak it out, even though that's not something men tend to do easily. Mm-hmm. So that was something that I eventually had to do to get through it in my mind, talk it out.
Yeah, because it was a very difficult, challenging time. So much, on your health and body with chemo, surgeries, etc. And so we learned communication, like speaking to each other, discussing, making sure our voices are heard, but yet that we're listening to each other too. Not just one person talking, but both of us actually listening and understanding each other. And I know I actually really hate the romantic comedy industry here because they have totally messed up communication, and they have shown people such a wrong way of communication in some ways, and there's this thing where they tend to stereotype or make it seem that women should just expect other people to know exactly what they want, and that, you know, if our husbands aren't like getting us the flowers or doing this or doing that, then they should know automatically what we're thinking or what we're expecting. That's such a wrong expectation in life, and it sets you up for failure if you just have expectations without communication, right? And I think that was just something I noticed in some of these like rom-coms they show, and it's just so false and just wrong information, and it's setting up like so many people for failure because they have expectations of like, well, they should know what I want, they should know what to do without me telling them. But when we have to communicate, right, we have to communicate what our needs are and what we expect, and then there can be a discussion on whether those expectations are, you know, things that you can do or I can do, or, you know, right?
I agree. Yeah, and I think back to when I was in industry and we had to do these effective communication courses. I worked for the defense industry as a civilian, and a very useful thing that they do is what they call read back. So once you've communicated what you want, then the person on the receiving end has to sort of reply with what they think they heard you say. So even in day-to-day things in our marriage, like I just, you know, when Johanna asks me something, then I repeat back, so you mean this, that, and the other. So that way we make sure we are understood correctly. So, you know, basic things like that avoid confusion about anything. So, yeah, I agree that's important.
Yeah, that complete feedback loop. I mean, that's what we do even in medicine, is like when patients tell us their histories and symptoms and what's going on with their condition, we learn also in our communication with patients to repeat back to them what we heard them say, so that they know that we understood what their condition, their symptoms, and everything that has gone on. And we repeat back to them what we want to do for their diagnosis and everything like that. That's so key, is so that they feel that they're understood when we communicate back what we heard too, right?
Right. And also resisting the urge to interrupt while you're hearing something. Wait till they finish speaking and then reply, rather than interjecting in the middle of a thought. So, you know, simple things like that make a big difference.
Yeah. And of course, when, you know, if things are like angry, like we're mad or angry, then it's learning to kind of having to take a step back. But life isn't perfect, and, you know, we're not perfect either, but it's learning those things, right?
Yeah.
Learning how to kind of calm down. And I think as the years have gone by too, I've just been like, you know what, we gotta always think the best of another person. We always have to be like, what are their positives? What are their good things? Focus on the good things, you know, realize that the irritating things, just leave them, let it go. 'Cause, you know, focus on the good, and, you know, the small things that aren't really huge, like maybe like leaving a dish rag in the wrong place or something. That's like a small thing that's not important, and not something you really do, but, you know, I'm just like making up a example.
I do that.
No, but, you know, just for an example, like you got those types of things, you just got to learn to be like, not make a big deal about that, because that's easily correctable or corrected. And, you know, then because if you start making big deals about the little things, then you focus completely on all the negative stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then that leads to trouble down the road, because then you're constantly full of like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And then you're focusing on that, right?
Right.
And so you have to like pick and choose and realize, what are you focusing on? Focus on something good. Remember the good things that have happened between the two of you. Remember the, positives in their character, and that's like in a healthy relationship I'm talking about, I know there's a lot of not so healthy relationships, but if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the dynamic of having children, that's changed how we communicate, that because that's like been challenging. Our daughter Genevieve always wants to get in on our conversation and be a part of the conversation, and but that's a family. It adds to the noise when we're trying to communicate things.
Yeah, it's and then that's when we have to take time to communicate big goals, or discuss the future purposely, because we are always surrounded by like daily chaos of like with the child's life and activities, and so it makes us have to purposely take time aside to discuss big things,
right?
Unless we want to include Genevieve in it too, which sometimes we do.
Most of the time
we have to hear her little opinion. At 4 years old, it's a very interesting one.
Right.
But so that's kind of changed after becoming parents. What else has changed, and how do we make decisions?
How do we make decisions? Well, we weigh the pros and cons from each other's point of view, and if we don't both agree on something, we don't do it. So that's been a bit challenging. Like, you have to have patience, and if you don't agree with the direction that we should go in, it's worth debating your point of view, and then you pray about it. That's the most important thing. I think, if you have differing points of view, submit it to the Lord, and then it works out. The choice becomes clear.
I think it's all about prayer in that regard. It's because both of us will have opinions and ideas and ideas of what we want to do, and sometimes it's completely different, but that's when we have to pray and just give it to the Lord, and pray that we will have a clear understanding, clear vision, clear direction in whatever the decision may be. And what is like one focus in our marriage or for our marriage? Like, what do you think you could come up with, what our focus in marriage is and for our marriage?
There's one focus. I mean, the obvious one is what's best for Genevieve, making sure she's taken care of. So that came to my mind. So we're both united in that, making sure whatever we do, we're doing the best for her. So that's one thing. But also, putting her aside, we make sure that each other is happy in the life choices in their career, whether we have a good balance between life and work, and making sure each one of us feels supported when they need help or struggling. So I think those are the things that come to mind when you say what we focus on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I'm so grateful because, we are, or I feel we have been able to support each other quite a lot, in these 10 years. And I'm so grateful for that. And I think for me, I also want our marriage to be able to be a blessing to others. And that's why I think we like to, continue in our efforts towards the Ephraim Foundation International and things like that. And we went to a marriage retreat and they were talking on Francis Chan's book. And, it's so true. And, everything we do should be for the glory of God, right? Everything as Christians, everything we have in life should be respected and accountable, knowing that we are stewards of what God has given us, right?
That's right. So, yeah, I think we tend to get, as my initial answers, now I realize in retrospect, I'm more focused about the family and making sure the family's okay. But our marriage is much bigger than our family. And that retreat we went to was a good reminder of that God created marriage for us to enjoy also, but to further his kingdom and to be a stronger force in this world, an agent in this world to help others and come to Christ.
Yeah. And that's how, we pray and hope that we can continue that in every aspect of our lives, right? And it's not easy, and life is definitely not easy. There are so many challenges, so many difficulties that everyone faces, and nothing comes easily. Nothing, will ever just fall into people's laps. It's always hard work. It's always effort, time, and intention.
Right.
Intentional work, right?
I mean, last 2 years have been crazy for us with my sickness and having at that time 2-3-year-old, and so it was very difficult to focus outside of our problems and to more outreach type things. Now we're settling back into some normal patterns that now we can focus beyond ourselves. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And so, well, this has been a little, hopefully inspiring conversation on marriage for you, and a little, I guess, look into our lives too, personally. But I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I would love for you to continue to listen to our upcoming episodes that we have in store. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you were inspired and continue to spark hope in your family, marriage, and communities. Thanks. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and a sense of connection in the stories we shared today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us and leave a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you. Follow us on Instagram and all the socials. We'd love for you to join a community of like-minded individuals passionate about making a difference through medicine, motherhood, and mission work. Remember, whether you're balancing the demands of a medical career, navigating the joys and challenges of parenthood, or dedicating yourself to a cause greater than yourself, you're not alone. We're here to support you, celebrate, and inspire one another on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep healing, keep nurturing, and keep sparking hope. This is Johanna signing off from Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions.